What is up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show live with me, Josh Pitts. I am extremely excited. I'm pumped. I'm jazzed because I've got the one, the only Mr. Scott Happ joining me this morning. He's a legend within the FinTech industry, which we're going to be talking about here very, very shortly. But before we get into that, as always, I want to thank you for joining us on the stream this morning. And if you're joining us live right now, make sure you comment #shred because you're shredding it with me and Scott this morning. And if you're joining us on the replay, make sure you comment #hustle because you're hustling, you're getting it done, and you're coming back, you're learning from the best of the best, and you're making it happen within your business. But ladies and gentlemen, Scott Happ. Scott, thank you so much for joining us this morning, my friend. I appreciate it.
Morning, Josh. Great to be here.
So I'm excited, Scott. Never had you on the show before. And as you and I have had a few chances to chat and get to know each other, I'm really excited because FinTech is, of course, one of the conversations within our industry right now. It's a huge topic. Everybody's talking about it. So let's kind of jump into it. And before we jump into too much, I want to get to know Scott Happ. I want everybody to get to know you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Again, you've been in FinTech for a long, long time. You've seen all kinds of different things. But who is Scott? Tell us about your family. Tell us about you. What are some of the activities you like to do in crazy times like this?
Well, Josh, I like to shred, as my son would say.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
For fun, my family loves to ski, and my son loves to board. Lives up by you, as you know.
Yeah.
And my kind of full-time focus is my job with Optimal Blue and trying to take this company to the next level. And of course, my family, I've got 3 great kids, not so much kids anymore, all in their 20s, scattered around the country, and like to spend time with them whenever we can and get out to the mountains. So we share that interest with you.
I love the mountains, and this is really cool. We mentioned this, and I want to kind of highlight this. Your son actually lives here in Utah with us, and I found out he's got some similar hobbies. He loves to climb like we do. He likes to shred like we do. So that's really, really cool. And we've said that I'm excited to connect with him and to possibly do some rock climbing. So super exciting to me.
Yep. Loves to climb. In fact, that's one of the reasons why he headed out to Salt Lake. Spent there about a year, and just really enjoys it out there.
That's awesome. And then you said you have also other kids there. I know you have your son here, but how many kids do you have?
I've got a daughter in Chicago who's working on her PhD in genetics, and another daughter in Madison going to nursing school. So yeah, they've all left home, which is the Milwaukee area. So spent the last close to 40 years of my career here in the Wisconsin area, just outside of Milwaukee.
Wow, PhD in genetics?
Yeah, she's a smart cookie.
I was going to say, she must get that from her mom, right? It's got
no doubt about it. Got her looks and her brains from her mom.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome. That's so cool. So you've got family. You mentioned your wife, and being outdoor and being a person who likes to get outside, likes to stay active. How did you get started in FinTech? I mean, clearly your family likes to be outside. You like to be outside, breathe fresh air. Typically, when we think of FinTech, we don't think of fresh air. We think of sitting behind a desk and kind of that style of life. But how did you get started in FinTech?
Yeah, FinTech's kind of an indoor sport.
It's definitely an indoor sport. Absolutely.
I started in banking, ended up running a bank-owned mortgage operation, and then that back in the 90s, actually spent a little time building some software, and was fortunate enough to be part of a team that built a website, actually one of the first direct-to-consumer mortgage web solutions back in 98 we launched, and one of the first to do that. In fact, I think our site was the first to provide a credit verified online loan approval. So that's one for the history books. That really kind of that sparked the transition into FinTech. We created a company around this platform called MortgageBot back in 97, 98. Became an independent company, spun off from our parent firm. It was an independent company for 11, 12 years, and sold that in 2011, took a few years off, and was fortunate enough to team up with a high-quality private equity firm called GTCR out of Chicago, and Optimal Blue was for sale, and was lucky enough to be part of the group that acquired Optimal Blue, brought my exec team from MortgageBot over to Optimal Blue, added a few more really talented individuals, and it's been just a great ride ever since. So, it was a strange and winding road, but yeah, got into FinTech and have enjoyed every minute of it.
So is there, I mean, being in as long as you have, is there any is there any technology, or is there a time when it really stood out? You're like, wow, our industry is evolving. Our industry is changing. Like, is it now? Was it a few years ago? Is there a time that really stood out to you that you're like, holy cow, like the advancements within the mortgage industry or the finance industry have really just taken off?
Yeah, there've been a lot of moments like that in my career. Probably the one that really stands out. This predates you a bit, Josh, but in the mid '90s, when the internet browser was born, I mean, there were that was a momentous event, and it caused a lot of us to sit up and say, boy, this is really going to change how we can do things, how we can deliver software, how we can impact the consumer experience, which was really the driver for me, which is what caused me to think about, how can we build a self-service platform. And so that was a moment, certainly once we realized how software as a service platforms could be constructed to allow literally thousands of organizations to be on the same system. That just created such immense efficiencies for everybody involved, the vendor, the clients, the consumers, all the level of cost efficiency and productivity that's been enabled by this internet capability is immense. So there's been a lot of those moments, but that one stands out for me.
I was going to say that was probably when the internet really started to take off. I'm sure that for somebody like you who's innovative, who has that revolutionary mindset, like I'm sure that was one of those times where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is the future. And I'm sure there were some people like, no, like it's not gonna, that's just a fad. I remember like my dad was, he talked about the internet, like, no, it's just a fad. And of course, now look, now we're streaming on multiple sites,
Right.
on multiple, social channels, and it just continues to grow. But this journey that you've been on, especially being in the fintech world, or in the tech world for so long, and you have such an incredible, like you've been CEOs of multiple different companies, from M&I Mortgage to MortgageBot, which I want to talk about here in a minute. And of course, now Optimal Blue. But I think the MortgageBot story in particular is kind of unique. It went from an idea to kind of this business formation to new industry vertical. So for those who aren't familiar with the MortgageBot, I know that's kind of the past, but maybe share that a little bit, because I think that plays a big part of the story.
Yeah. So with the advent of the internet and consumers having access to platforms where they can do self-service transactions, think Amazon, right? It made it possible for folks like the team at MortgageBot to build a self-serve platform for organizations to open up their web channel. So we basically had a very robust, highly configurable platform that we could configure for lenders and enable them to interact with their consumers online, and provide all sorts of online capabilities, approvals and pricing, and the ability to pull credit and upload documents, and all of these things really just was a kind of a pivotal moment for the industry, and just a transformative capability. And so MortgageBot was simply a company that built a platform to support that direct-to-consumer channel, and we just stayed super focused on it. We were innovative. We didn't get distracted. We had a product-centered focus. So our theory was, let's just build the best product, and they will come in. Indeed, they did. I think when we sold the company, we had 1,000 clients using the software, supporting millions of transactions a year. So it was
wow.
It was a matter of right place, right time, good idea, lots of hard work, lots of execution, and staying focused, not getting distracted, and if there's one thing that's consistent between MortgageBot and Optimal Blue, it's the philosophy of building a great product. So really, that's what it comes down to.
That is a perfect transition, talking about Optimal Blue, because Optimal Blue, I've used it for years. As I own my mortgage company here in Utah, we've used Optimal Blue. And sometimes we think of Optimal Blue as just kind of as a pricing engine. Like, hey, that's where all my loans get priced through. But there's so much more to that, which I want to get into. But as you transition from MortgageBot to Optimal Blue, you brought in an incredible leadership team. And I think, as you mentioned, that you guys have an incredible product, an incredible service, but at the same time, it's who you've surrounded yourself with as the leadership team at Optimal Blue that continues to help you guys thrive, especially in times like this. So was that kind of your goal? I mean, as you've been CEO of multiple companies and they've been very successful, as you came to Optimal Blue, how important was it to you to really bring a team together that could help with future growth of it?
Yeah, well, OB, as you know, is a great platform, very unique position in the marketplace. Really is a marketplace platform, right, where we're bringing together this two-sided market with a couple hundred investors and now 3,000 different originating companies. So it was a great, well-positioned company, had some terrific client base, tons of talent, but we were in a hurry to kind of bring this business to the next level. And in order to jumpstart that process, I was just very lucky to have worked with a group of people for years at MortgageBot. And they were looking to kind of get back together and do something meaningful and special and make a difference and have a lot of fun in the process. So I was just really fortunate to have had built a team, developed a team at MortgageBot that was largely available to come and join me at OB. Now, having said that, tons of talent at OB when we acquired the company, and we brought in you got to bring in some fresh perspective. So we brought in some new folks on the sales side and the finance side that really helped us move the needle. Leadership's key, talent's key. I mean, it all has to work together. It all has to work right for this to be effective. But we did jumpstart it. We did have the good fortune of being able to jumpstart our next phase of growth by bringing in a team that had worked together before, and then bringing in some other folks that we just meshed.
And you mentioned the 3 Ps that I really like. That you talked about product, you talked about people, and you talked about partners. Those are the things. You have to have a very valuable product. You have to have a product that people want, but people. You mentioned people. I talk about people all the time, and people are one of those that are kind of the differentiating factor. Is you have to have incredible people. You have the people that you trust, people that you can rely on. And that's what you've done at OB is you've brought in such incredible people. And I want to talk about that more here in just a minute. But before we go too much more into OB and the people and some of the things that you guys are doing, I want to know, this is something, a hot topic, of course, but right now our industry's in a little bit of turmoil. There's people saying it's good, it's bad, it's all over the place. What is your perspective on opportunity? What is your perspective on our mortgage industry right now with the pandemic that we're in?
I mean, look, as I mentioned to a lot of folks, if you make a list of the 10 industries that are actually favorably impacted by the coronavirus, the pandemic, as guilty as we might all feel, I mean, the mortgage industry is one of those. It would be in that list of 10 industries favored for the most part. There's some exceptions. But for the most part, favorably impacted. Our clients have full pipelines, of course, fueled in part by, record levels of refinances, driven, of course, by low rates. But the purchase market has already bounced back, and in most parts of the country are approaching pre-pandemic levels. I mean, we are serving a very healthy industry. There are some hotspots. The non-QM market that of course was on ice for a bit. It's coming back now, and the pandemic has really forced us to make some changes that probably needed to occur more rapidly anyway, like a number of the digital mortgage processes that are being relied on for collateral valuation and closings. And so we serve a healthy industry. I think the vendors that do that are all thanking our lucky stars that we picked the right industry to be in. And it is good to be part of a segment of the economy that is providing a bit of a tailwind and can provide some energy as the rest of the economy struggles so much.
Dude, I love that. I mean, how you're talking about it. Sometimes, especially executives, leaders, they almost have a doom and gloom, but just your positive like nature of how you're talking about the industry, that, hey, we are in a good place, that yes, things have changed, but that's part of the one thing I say about our industry all the time, Scott, I'm sure you can agree with this, is the one constant in our industry is change. Like, it's changing all the time. You have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to kind of change things on the fly. And if you're not, and that's why you and your leaders and what OB is doing, you guys are innovative. You're looking at where the future of the industry is going. And like you mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how doomy and gloomy it looks, the truth stands that the housing market is the bedrock of our economy. Like, that is absolutely true. It's not going to change. And I think you would agree with that, Scott.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's worth noting that this crisis is just so much different than the 08 crisis. Where housing really took it on the chin. That's an understatement. I mean, the fundamentals of the mortgage finance market and the housing market are much more solid than they were that last go round. And I think the housing market will be more of a source of strength for the economy than a source of weakness as it was last time. And of course, the finance market played into that in a big way last time. The finance market is largely agency-backed product now, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, and that product is flowing well. Even though the credit guidelines have tightened a bit, there's still a huge amount of volume going through the system, and the system's quite liquid and healthy, I think, from many measures.
And that's just so good to hear from a leader like yourself who has been through, I've heard that a couple of times, but somebody like yourself who has been through multiple crashes, like you said, from the 90s to 07, 08, when that all went through. This is different. But the fact of the matter is that you are positive, like you have a positive outlook on the future of our industry. There's a lot of opportunity. There's lots of ways to collaborate, to integrate, to work with partners, to build new relationships. And that's what OB is all about. And that's kind of this is like a perfect transition, Scott. Like you just keep making these transitions for me. That just are
all about making your life easy, Josh.
That's what you do, Scott. And that's what that's what OB is all about, is making people's lives easy, especially within the mortgage industry. So I want to talk about OB because, like I mentioned, I've used OB. I just thought it was, especially when we used it back in the day at our mortgage brokerage, it was just kind of our pricing engine. It's what we priced everything through. But there's more to OB than that. So I want to dive into that. But before we do, kind of talk about you as a company. I mean, you guys have grown significantly over the last few years. So maybe talk a little bit about OB, base of operations. I mean, how many employees does OB have now?
We're pushing 350 employees, main
Wow.
operations down outside of Dallas and Plano, but we've got a hedging operation in Denver. We've got a compliance operation in Orange County, a couple of offices up in Wisconsin as well. So we're spread around a bit. Of course, no one's working in those offices today, which I think is worth noting that this event, which caused us all to move to a work from home environment, has really been an eye opener. I think it's something that we were all anxious about, went off without a hitch. I think talk about what the internet has enabled. I mean, had this pandemic occurred, pre-internet or in the early, even 10 years ago, we would not have been able to make this sort of seamless transition to a work from home environment without our customers noticing, without any degradation of teamwork or productivity. So quite incredible. So anyway, I digress. So we're about 350 strong, and you're right. The system historically has been thought of as a product and pricing engine. We do think of OB as really more of a secondary marketing automation platform. We're really looking to automate all aspects of the secondary marketing process, from getting content from investors so that you can do your pricing, all the way to selling the loan off to aggregators through a loan trading platform that we actually acquired. And we've been very focused on the secondary marketing space since we acquired the company a few years ago. It is far more than a product and pricing engine, although that is our flagship product. And proud of the fact that we think we're pricing kind of pushing 40% of the loans in the primary market.
Wow.
That's up from probably about 1 out of 4 when we acquired the company 4 years ago. So good, solid growth, approaching 1,000 users of our product and pricing engine, and we've got a couple thousand clients in the broker side as well, which is that's a segment of the market that's quite healthy at the moment. So yeah, broad-based system, product pricing, hedging, trading, compliance, all of the things you need, social media compliance, all the things you need to really run an effective secondary marketing operation, which, as you know, is a vital, mission critical
Huge,
part of the
huge.
business.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that there are so many parts in there: product and pricing, hedge analytics, social media, which I didn't even know that. As I've been working and talking with you guys more, is like, holy cow, like I had no idea that you guys were doing stuff like that, which you provide all these solutions. And then also you guys, it's data. You guys have a ton of things that you do with data as well. So maybe talk a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, happy to. Glad you brought that up, because we really think of our business as, from an automation standpoint, it's anything secondary marketing related, product pricing, hedging, trading. We want to be the leader in innovating around those capabilities. And in fact, when we bought the company, we kind of narrowed our focus to make sure that would be where we would be doing our innovation. But in addition to being focused on those areas, we've had two strategic initiatives over the past 4 or 5 years. One is data. We ride on we float on a sea of data, and we've built the infrastructure, and now we've begun to build a bunch of products around that data, so we can provide our customers with something called competitive information, competitive analytics, so they can benchmark their productivity and benchmark their margins and benchmark their pricing in a particular market or based on a particular product in real time. That's incredibly useful information, and we've had a lot of fun building out that capability and really good success rolling that capability out. So data is a very important kind of centerpiece of our strategy, along with kind of opening up our system via APIs and being able to build kind of an ecosystem around that. So those two strategic initiatives sort of run in parallel with this focus on secondary marketing innovation, and then data, and an open platform to support that focus.
And that in technology, I'm so glad you brought this up, because I talked to Bob Brand when him and I were sitting down at the Snug event, the Simple Nexus event earlier or last year, not earlier this year. I guess it was earlier this year. See, time flies when you're having fun, Scott. Holy cow, holy smokes.
Like a long time ago.
But this API first strategy that you guys have, and some of these partners, you mentioned them. You mentioned Ellie Mae, Simple Nexus, Mortgage Coach, Top of Mind, Total Expert.
Yep.
You mentioned all these, and these are integrations that you guys have. You mentioned just a few minutes ago, you're trying to make, as an originator, as a loan officer, as a licensed loan officer, you're trying to make that process, the mortgage process more simple, easier, because ultimately, if you make that process easier for myself, it's going to be easier for the consumer, which the end consumer is what we all have in mind. We want that process. We want the experience of buying a home, of achieving the dream of home ownership. We want that to be simple. We want that to be something that they enjoy, and that's hard to do. But companies like Optimal Blue, as you continue to be innovative, as you continue to put out integrations and work with some of these incredible companies, that's ultimately what you're trying to provide.
That's right. And one of the real opportunities we saw with Optimal Blue, since it was relied on to be the kind of the center kind of record of system of record for pricing information, was the need to push that data out to any vendor that our clients might be using, whether it's an LOS like Ellie Mae or Mortgage Cadence or Calyx or Mortgage Builder, or whether it's a CRM system like Top of Mind, or whether it's a point of sale system like Simple Nexus. If we're going to be the kind of system of record for pricing information, we had to make it really easy, like plug and play for these vendors that are also being used by our common clients to plug into our system. So of all the things that we've done in the last 4 years, I think this has been like the grand slam, out of the park, bases loaded, smash hit, game winning moment for us. We've got hundreds of clients on this API, and we've got like 60 partner firms, the firms that we've mentioned on this API, running millions and millions of transactions through. to kind of put it in a nutshell, we want to be like the pricing utility for the industry, right? Build your pricing in OB, and then we will just stream it wherever you need it.
For
CRM,
real.
point of sale, LOS, website, wherever you want us to push it.
Man, and like you said, already having 40% of the industry's transactions going through this, I just continue to see you guys grow, which that's what I want to talk about next. Kind of your strategy and evolution. Clearly, it's the innovative thinking that's already helped you and the team at OB get to where you are. But what is some of the things that you're looking forward to? What's some of the strategies and innovation and things that you guys are looking forward to seeing here in the next little time or next future with OB?
Yeah, so we were supporting 1 out of 4 mortgages 4 years ago. We're kind of moving through 1 out of 3. Like we've got a great product. We've got some terrific supporting capabilities like the APIs, like our data solutions, like our hedging and trading systems, our compliance solution. And so now it's all about execution and trying to grow our market presence. So Josh, you'll appreciate this. Last year, we signed something like 175 new customers to our platform.
Wow.
And half of those customers were not using any kind of a third-party pricing engine. They were using Excel, and they had jerry-rigged other systems to sort of handle their pricing information. So there's just a lot of what I'll call greenfield opportunity out there, right? There's probably 3,000 potential users of our flagship product. Set aside all our other products, just our flagship product. And it's our job to go out and kind of demonstrate to those prospects that they're gonna be more productive, more competitive, and more profitable if they sign up with OB. So it's not rocket science. Elon Musk and SpaceX. But it's a good product, and we got plenty of growth opportunities.
I don't know. I see you guys taking that rocket ship approach, Chad. I don't know if you watched it on Saturday, but I mean, just the history that was made from SpaceX. And it's kind of interesting that you even kind of make that connection, because I actually see OB as kind of that, SpaceX is this third party that NASA brought on, and Elon Musk and his team over there have done incredible things. OB is kind of that same thing. The integrations, the partnerships, the collaboration that you guys have, that's skyrocketing our industry. It's so cool to see that. And it's so exciting to me it gets me excited for the future of our industry, which that's kind of what I want to end on here and kind of start wrapping up. What is your vision? What are your thoughts on the future of our industry, especially when it comes to FinTech?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty bullish. And I think honestly, the pandemic is probably forcing us to move forward faster on more fronts than we otherwise would have. I mean, this whole idea of a digital mortgage, I mean, we have it was coming, and it was coming probably a little slower than many of us would have liked. And of course, we've been talking about this for 30 years now. And this just gave us such a shove into the future. And, I think that, we're going to hopefully maintain that momentum, really move this to a fully digitized way of doing business. OB, we want to make the market more transparent, more liquid. We want to bring down costs for our clients, which ultimately, that leads to lower costs for the consumer. We know the industry has a cost problem, that's well documented.
Yep.
And I think we're part of that solution. In fact, back, starting in the 90s, there was a lot of talk about how to interface different technologies, how to move data. There was this thing called EDI, electronic data interchange, and it never really worked. It never really happened. But now, with the advent of the internet and of APIs and of companies like OB who are establishing data exchange standards, I really do think that we can truly create an ecosystem of firms within the mortgage industry that we've never seen before. We talked about it for decades. I think in the next 5 years, we're really going to see this come together. And I think OB is really in a lead role there, and you can see it with our partner network and our API transaction activity.
Scott, you gave me goosebumps there, man. Kind of hearing you talk about your vision. Like I'm legit like at bringing this ecosystem together, because I 100% agree with you. The incredible people that I've been able to collaborate with, some of the things that I've seen, I agree. I think an OB is in a perfect position to do so. You're kind of at that center of all the integrations that you already have, having the API for a strategy, bringing these great companies together, having those integrations, having those collaborations, and ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, everybody in our industry, we all know ultimately everything we do, whether it's fintech, originators, whatever your part is, it's to help the end consumer. It's to help that first-time home buyer. It's to help that veteran get in a home. It's to help that family buy an investment property, whatever it is. We're helping people achieve that dream of home ownership. And Scott, everything that you guys are doing at OB is just leading the way. You're the pioneers. You're revolutionizing our industry. I can't thank you enough for all that you and your team are doing, because it's super exciting. I'm excited to be on this journey and this ride with you. And I cannot thank you enough for taking some time and sharing with us today all that you've learned, some of the experiences and some of the things that OB is doing, man. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Josh. Appreciate your enthusiasm. Gets me jazzed and ready to tackle the rest of the day. So
I was going to say, now we're ready. We've been shredding with Scott. Now it's time to go tackle the day. So right. Scott, as always, man, I really appreciate it. This is the first of many to come. I think we're going to definitely have you back on the show here in a few months, even talking about as OB continues to roll out new things and continues to revolutionize the industry. Some of these partnerships, I'm very excited to see them as they progress. So again, Scott, thank you so much. Appreciate you on the show today.
All right. Thank you, Josh. You take care.
You too, my friend. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we could not do this without you. So if you're joining us live, drop a hashtag shred. If you're joining us on the replay, comment hashtag hustle. Because again, this is all for you, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, we appreciate you. We love you. And now it's time to go shred. Go show up, hustle, repeat every day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.